Suzanne Darmory. She is with Jackson Hewitt. I alluded to it yesterday. They had a campaign that they really wanted to get outside of the box. They got a little bit more than they had planned and bargained for, and I'm not going to tell any of that. I will let Suzanne fill you in. So everyone give a nice hand for Suzanne Darmory.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, that was really loud. Thank you, Lisa, so much for the introduction. This is not my first rodeo here. I recognize a lot of familiar faces, and I'm excited to grab some ranch waters with those of you who I don't. So thank you so much for having me again, Lisa, and Media Post. A little bit about me. I come from the agency side, so I originally, went through the whole creative writer to ECD to CCO, and then I went client side a few years ago, and I joined Jackson Hewitt really to understand how to take a brand in-house and how to make a difference from that. So my career, can you guys hear me? Okay, good. So my career has sort of done the fun switch to client turn, and one of the reasons I went to Jackson Hewitt is because they really are a challenger brand, and I think it's always, there's an opportunity when you come in from a challenger perspective is to really make a difference and to understand how to become, from the underdog to the leader. So Jackson Hewitt, for those of you who don't know them, they're a tax company, and most people don't think taxes are fun, and if you guys haven't done yours, we have until the 18th this year, and I know in California, I think it's October 18th, so it'll be, take your time this year. There's no rush. And people normally, when they hear me talk about taxes, get stressed. So please don't get stressed. This is a fun project that we worked on. So what does it take to be a challenger brand? I mean, when I think of challengers, I think of Kung Fu Panda, Karate Kid, and Rudy, the underdog who really wants to come up and break through all the noise and sort of beat the top dog. Challenger brands are there to make sure that legacy brands, they sort of compete with the legacy brands, so they take their time trying to get there. They don't have the budgets, they don't have the leaders normally that you have with a massive legacy brand, but they do have that, the want to get there. So they sort of take, trying to take the market shares. So how do you win the hearts of people and of your clients? You go out on a limb, you take risks, you make sure that you're front of the market and that people know who you are, and you create conversations. So one of the things that we did this year, which I know Lisa has been alluding to, was a big campaign, and we really tried to make our mark and take our stake in the ground. So our goals were to challenge and disrupt, to break through the sea of sameness, because if you see, if you've seen all the don't do your taxes commercials and all that fun stuff where people were basically, it felt the same. It felt like people were just saying the same thing over and over, and we really did try to take a stand in what we did, and I feel like it did obviously stand out. And we did a bold new approach, and we felt like it was time that we went out there on a limb, and we really fought with the legacy brands. So we stood out, and that's one of the things I think we all want to do is we want to stand out in the market. We want to make sure that we make our mark and we go from the challenger to the legacy. So our key messages this year, I mean, we have inflation, we have gas, we have every price, eggs, everybody talking about eggs. So and olive oil is next, is what I found out in this fun little journey of Every Dollar Matters. But we also have a very, very close alignment with Walmart's. We're in, it was 1,200 stores, we're in 2,200 stores. And we have a great partnership with them because what happens is when people get their tax refund, they go straight into Walmart. So we have the great customer crossover. And we do, have a product called Early Refund Advance where you can get money against what taxes you're getting back. So they go in and they buy their tires, they buy Christmas presents, whatever it is that they need to buy for that year that they can't really afford. So we took our crossover and our partnership and we came up with the core message, when every dollar matters, because this year more than ever, it really does. And getting that through our campaigns and understanding that our clients, every dollar does matter. They're fighting, they're the hardworking Americans who really fight for every dollar they get. So we came up with this idea when every dollar matters as a core message for the year. And then it matters who does your taxes. So when we have, when you think about who does it, will the other legacy brands fight as much? So that was our stance, and we really felt strongly that it really does matter who does your taxes. We have so many franchisees and company-owned operations, and we're all across the U.S. So a lot of times the people who do their taxes, they go to church with them, or they play on they know them from sports. They are in the neighborhood, so they're very, very local. And that is one of the things that we feel strongly is a great differentiator is, we know who our clients are because we're with them constantly. So one of the things that we all are getting this year is buck-shocked. Like, it is a thing. It's just people, it's like, wait, how much does that cost? Every time I go in the supermarket, it's a little surprise and delight. Like, wait, that cost something different last week. So this year we were really leaning into the buck-shock, and that moment where you're like, where are all my dollars going and what is happening? So everyday things just costing more and more. From there, we came up with this campaign, What the Buck? And the campaign was really about money when they need it, how they need it, where they can get it, and understanding that we provide the biggest refund guaranteed that they expect. It was a parlay from every dollar matters to What the Buck, and it was like an easy sort of way in. However, it was, working for a tax company. We have a few people who were, questioning, but we tested this, and we tested it, we retested it, and this campaign for the last 12 years has been performing the highest. So we made sure that we weren't going to market with something that we were, questioning. We have launching in January, we have a lot of heart for this idea of What the Buck, because it really is that moment where you're like, wait, how much am I spending for this? So we had a 4-week media buy where we had 2 weeks for this, and then we swapped it out for another campaign, and I'm gonna show you those 2 spots right now.
What the buck? Need money? File your taxes today at Jackson Hewitt. You could get up to $3,500 the same day with a no-fee refund advance loan. Buck yeah. File your taxes today at Jackson Hewitt.
So one of the things, obviously, when you go to market with a very strong stance and a very, understanding that you are making your statement and your mark, and you are bringing the challenger into challenger brand, we knew there would be a lot of emotions, both sides of the fence. So we were sure that we had a second backup spot, because just because we loved it and everybody loved it doesn't mean that the world would. And obviously we are in a country where people are very vocal when they don't like things. So we got emotions both sides. That said, it was the most talked about campaign that I think we've done to date. People were talking about us. We were getting lots of buzz, lots of feedback, both sides of the fence on that, because, if you were in the other room, there were people who were like, what did I just hear? And they were actually rewinding the spot. So the fact that, people were listening and they were like, wait, what did I just hear? And the thought was never that we made it really clear that it was to be articulated buck, because there is that questionable, if you're in the other room, is going to be taken the other way. But it's playing on that phase, the phrase that we have. It's, it is what the buck. It's like, what is happening to my dollars? So just to make sure that we didn't toe over the line too much, we had a second. So we did this spot, and we did a second spot, and we did both change from what the buck to the next phrase. So I'm going to take you to the next spot, which is
What?
There.
Need money? When every buck matters, it matters who does your taxes. Trust the experts at Jackson Hewitt. You'll get your biggest refund, guaranteed, or your money back plus $100. File your taxes today at Jackson Hewitt.
So you can see the subtle change. We took what the buck out, we took buck yeah out, just to make sure, and we could test it. It really is an interesting conversation piece. It's, how do you pivot? There were opinions on both sides on the what the buck and on the need money, because once it went on the air, people started talking, which is, again, it's great. And we had the stands that this was the most talked about campaign that I think we've done ever. So feeling proud that challenger brands get to challenge. So Buck, yeah, oops, sorry, that skipped over. Sorry. Buck, yeah. So, you know, how do you take the what the buck and you turn it into a buck, yeah? You do something like this. You celebrate the moments where you're like, okay, this is, you know, this is a great thing. We're sharing that every dollar matters, and we're getting it out, and we're having that conversation about bucks and what they mean to everybody. So this was the ad week picked it up, and because everyone was a little bit surprised that we went so far out on a limb, but I'm still to this day, I'm very glad that we did. Other things that we're doing this year, it's our 40th anniversary, so we're celebrating 40 lucky winners. And the sweeps that we did, we've never done this before, is insane. Like, this is changing people's lives right now because we have 40 grand winners and we have 480 runner-ups. So 40 grand winners get their refund doubled. And we've had winners, someone who's living in a rental is able to put a deposit onto their mortgage and buy their house. Another person has a family of 5 and, you know, basically can buy a car so that he can take his kids around. Like, these dollars matter, and these people are changing, and some people are just catching up on bills. So it's a big thing. And then the 480, it's up to $400. So people just get randomly picked, and it's, you know, it helps. I think you know, the fact that we're sort of going into every dollar matters, that this is really celebrating in a nice way. So these are, and by say, really lucky, like really, really lucky. Some of these people are just, you know, the content that we're getting out of this obviously is so good. This particular woman, she's a chef, she's a single mom. She lost her car, she lives in Naples. She lost her car during the hurricane. She's putting a kid into college and she couldn't afford to do it before, but now she can. So she submitted this video about her story with us.
I am a single mom. I have a 18-year-old daughter that's still at home. We're trying to get ready to go to college. Just trying to get my finances, you know, together. I'm a chef by trade, as you can see. I've had some difficult times, but I'm blessed. God has brought me through so much. Changed my life a lot. Been to prison, changed my life over 15 years ago. And, you know, I just try to do the right thing. I try to pay it forward every way I can. And I work about 50 hours a week as a chef here in Naples, Florida. And, you know, just a single mom trying to make it. That's pretty much my story, you know. But I'm not complaining because I am blessed. Order goes through Jackson Hewitt all the time for like the early refund advance and stuff like that. So this year I needed it because usually I don't do the early refund thing. But I'm like, you know, I really need it this year after Ian and all of that. So I filed with them last year and I didn't have a problem. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stick with them because they're reputable, you know, and this was my second year filing with them. And wow, I just can't believe it. Wow. I mean, nothing like this ever happens to me. If I win $10 on a lottery ticket, I'm so excited, you know, because I work so much, but sometimes you just don't see the, you know, the effort. So this is a blessing to me, honestly, like a blessing. I can't believe it.
And just, you know, that emotion we are getting from all of our winners, whether it's, you know, the double the refund. So some people get small refunds, but they're winning double. I think the largest one was the one who was able to buy the house that they're renting. And it just, you know, the moment where you realize, okay, we're making a difference. And that's one of the things that is really coming out of this. So every dollar matters, every buck matters. And all of our winners are beyond.
I am a single.
Oh. So other thing is that refund shock is real this year. If you guys have not filed your taxes, it's lower than ever. It's like 14% under what we've seen, and it's just because of the way that the pandemic brought different government, you know, sort of the EITC and the child credit. They brought these refunds that higher than ever, and now they've brought them down. So everyone's shocked, and we're finding that people are either waiting longer or not filing. And that's an industry thing. Like, we are way down in the industry of people filing because they're 14% lower this year than ever. So if you haven't done your taxes, like, be prepared. It's not, it's not a pretty year, but one of the things we started talking about was that refund shock, was, that moment where you say, you're like, oh my gosh, or, on the flip side, like, how much do I owe? So what we're trying to do is make sure that we make people aware that they will get their biggest refund, or, obviously on the flip side, if they have to pay some, pay the very least. So in summation, what we're doing as a challenger brand, we're really, the brand gorillas are here and they're doing their legacy things, and our budgets are smaller, our team is probably significantly smaller, but what we're doing is we're challenging. We're outsmarting, not outspending. We are really taking a stance and understanding what it takes to be a challenger brand this year more than ever. So, we're thinking and acting differently. This campaign, I don't think would have ever flown a year or two ago. So we're really taking the stand as a challenger. We're creating an inspirational strategy. So every dollar, how do you make that work? How do you stretch it? How do you make that the main focus? So we created an inspirational strategy of every dollar matters. We're following the shifts, the trends that, with the government, the IRS keeps calling and telling us different things. We have to pivot with that, and taking a pulse on the cultural insights and what the market is doing right now. Also taking a strong provocative stance, which, we did and we're so proud of. However, people, reacted is a different story, but we did take a provocative stance, and I think it worked really well. Outsmart with messaging and target the right audience. And last but not least, as a challenger brand, have the courage to be bold. And again, I think that was one of the things we did really well this year. So that is it from me. Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Suzanne. Does anyone have any questions? Hold on.
Any questions? Sorry.
Well, I do.
I know you do.
I always
tried
do.
to escape.
Yes, I know. I caught you, though. I know where you live.
All right.
Okay. No, but just in terms of, as you said, you kind of knew you had to have a backup when you had this, out of the box kind of, or sort of this strategy that you knew wasn't necessarily going to be appreciated by everyone. But still, at the time, because you guys held off, you were waiting it up. Like, what was that defining moment? Like, how do you know when to continue to trust your gut and stick with, as you said, you're very proud of the initial ad, or when it's time to, okay, let's kind of appease the masses, as opposed to maybe you were hitting that target audience that you were looking for, but then you had to kind of broaden it. Like, when do you say, okay, we got to do this?
I think it's just reading how people are reacting, and it's understanding and I'm sure everybody does this, is you check your comments, right? The customer comments a lot. And if you find that things are starting, we have people posting the same person every day on our Facebook wall. We have people commenting. So the push, there is that moment where you just say, okay, stand your ground, stand your ground. And then there's a moment where you're like, okay, maybe we need to rethink this, because when people start articulating their opinions, it tends to get louder. And as we all know, the people who are most against something are the ones who, leave the Yelp reviews and the Google reviews. Like, the people who are angry are louder, and the people who are happy are quieter. So we, we were just reading the way that people were reacting, but it was interesting. Oops, sorry. It was interesting for sure.
I did that yesterday a lot. And just as a follow-up, did you need to change the mix in terms of where you were, because your ads were similar in length, similar aside from
15 seconds,
those couple of words. So what happened with Max, or could you just go the way it was, or the mix?
That's a great question. So originally we had a mix, and there were some networks who said, no, it's too close, we can't run it. And they were surprising, because I was absolutely surprised that there were a few. They're more what I call like the edgier networks, but they wouldn't take it. And then once we flipped it to the need money, and both of the spots we did, Pricey Pizza and Empty Wallet, we did both What the Buck and Need Money. So we were able to get new networks. So the networks that said no said yes to the second round. By that point, everybody had started talking about What the Buck anyway, and everyone was looking for the next one. And then, obviously seeing the same TV spot, but with a different voiceover, and you're like, even when I was watching the Need Money, I'm like, wait, where's the What the Buck, and where's the Buck? Yeah, like, it's weird. Like, you expect to see it, and it's just not there. So it did open for more, a different media buy.
Got it. Okay, well, again, Suzanne, thank you so much.
Thank
That was
you.
awesome.
Thank you.